If you're a woman over 50 and you're behind in your finances, I'm about to show you how to catch up fast. In this video, you'll discover the free money most women are leaving on the table, how to build a $2,500 emergency fund in 3 months, and turn your professional skills into immediate income streams. Plus, I have a free action plan that will walk you through your first 90 days step by step. So here we go. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Carrie Stone, and this is Carrie On, where we talk all things money, movement, and mindset. And today we're talking money because recently I was hired by a company in Delaware to write and present a training program for their employees. I assumed they were going to ask me to talk about workplace etiquette or something similar to that. But instead, the CEO asked me to do a presentation on financial resilience because he's worried that his employees aren't prepared for hard times. When I delivered that training, the response was eye-opening. People of all ages had questions and concerns about their finances, which made me think that maybe you had the same questions that they had. So today, I'm going to share the information that I shared with the company in Delaware so you can take control of your finances and develop some financial resilience as you journey through your 50s and beyond. So let's get started. Let's look at some financial statistics. Did you know that 88% of Americans report financial stress? 65% of them say it is their biggest form of stress. 65% of people say that finances negatively impact their mental health. 92% report headaches and loss of sleep because of finances. And 58% of the people said that they hide their financial problems from their family and friends. You can't plan for financial problems. Who would have ever thought that in 2020, the world would just completely shut down and people wouldn't be able to go to work? Well, see, I didn't feel the stress of 2020. And I don't say that with pride or bragging. I say it because I learned all about finances the hard way in the 2008 market crash, when my husband and I lost everything that we had worked our entire marriage to build because we were fully invested in the real estate market, and that market crashed. We tried everything we could to hold on, and nothing we did helped. And so we learned a lot from that. And so much of what I'm going to teach you today are things that I have personally applied to my life. But the first section we're going to talk about are things that I've never had access to as a self-employed person. So if you have access to them, I want you to be taking advantage of them. But before we get into that, let's look at a little debt reality. 77% of Americans carry debt. 1 in 4 of them say that that debt is unmanageable. Now that is stressful. And before you think that other people can do this because they make more money than you do, let's just stop for a minute and look at lifestyle creep. And lifestyle creep is when your debt rises with your income. And so that means like every time you get a new raise, you're getting a better house or a better car, or you're increasing your lifestyle in some way. And I'm telling you, I have met a lot of very broke people who make good money. So let's not judge based on someone's income, because I think all of us have heard about the teachers who retire millionaires. And it's not like they're all Walter White and making crystal blue meth and destroying people's lives and making millions of dollars doing it. But these are people who make very low incomes, and yet they have retired as millionaires. And it's not because of how much money they made. It's because they knew what to do with the money that they made. So you can save money. You can become financially resilient. And I'm going to show you how today. Let's start with free money. If you have a regular job, I've never had that, but if you have a regular job where you are actually getting paid an hourly or a salary rate to work for somebody else 40 to 60 hours a week, then you probably have access to one of the best free money sources there is around, and that is the 401k. And the 401k only gets better when you work for an employer who gives you a matching 401k. dollar for dollar up to a certain percentage of your income. The company I just did the presentation for did that, dollar for dollar. So if, as an employee, someone there invests $100, they immediately get $100 on top of that. If you can tell me another place that I can invest $100 and get 100% guaranteed return every single time, please leave a note in the comments below. I would love to know about it. But if you have access to a 401k and you're not using it, you are leaving money on the table. So I decided to research this. How many people don't take advantage of a 401k? And you might be surprised to find out that 56% of people who have access to a matching 401k do not take advantage of it. 56%. So it made me stop and go, what would cause somebody to not take advantage of a matching 401k? And I came up with these 3 options. 1, they didn't know. Maybe when they were doing their onboarding process at their new job, it was just so overwhelming with so much new information, and they just didn't hear it. Number 2, they've never been taught. With the divorce rates as high as they are in our country, I think a lot of us have gotten out of the home without being taught what we needed to know when we got out of the home. I was raised by a banker, and I left home having no idea how to balance a checkbook. I knew nothing about investing. I knew nothing about money. Nothing. And I was raised by a banker. Cobbler's kids have no shoes, you know? So they're just not taught. And the third reason, I think, is people think they have more time. But let me tell you why waiting is a bad idea. If you are in your 20s or 30s and you're watching this video, listen really closely to this part. Compound interest is your friend. Don't keep thinking you have time, because compound interest works best when you start young. I wish somebody had taught me about it when I was in my 20s, because I did an example for this training where I took someone making $60,000 a year. They never ever get another raise. They always invest their 5% and they get their 5% matching from their employer. So what would that look like in 30 years? And based on a 7% return, that $3,000 a year plus the $3,000 from the employer turned into $566,783. I don't know about you, but I could use another $500,000. If you agree, give me an amen in the comments below. That's the value of compound interest. That's why you don't want to put off investing in your future. Future you will thank you for it. The next free money I want to talk about is a health savings account. This is another thing, as a self-employed person, I do not have access to. But if you have access to a health savings account, please take full advantage of it. Because with a health savings account, you get a triple tax advantage. The money that you invest into your HSA goes in tax deductible. The money that grows in that account grows tax-free. And when you take money out of that account for medical purposes, it is also tax-free. I would love to have access to a health savings account. But for those of you who don't have access to a health savings account, let me tell you what I did. I finally changed my insurance from a very high, expensive insurance to Christian Health Ministries, which was a significant savings for me, $750 a month to be exact. And so what I did with the savings is I now take that $750 a month and I put it into a high yield savings account, so that even though I don't get the triple tax advantage, I have money going away into a particular account at a higher interest rate, that when I need money for medical purposes, I have it there. So it's not the same as an HSA, but it's still a way that you can save for your health issues. So why should you save for your health issues? You have insurance, right? Well, if you're like me and you have health issues that your insurance does not cover, you need as much help as you can get when it comes to your health. But I learned while I was writing this training, the average American family spends $300,000 in retirement on health issues. $300,000. $1,000. I know that my family has put a lot of money into my health so that I could have this quality of life, and we didn't have access to a health savings account. So invest your money in a health savings account and prepare for your future, because I'm going to tell you, as a person who is a health nut, who did all the right things, I still got very sick, bedridden, almost died, even though I did all the right stuff. You don't know what's coming when it comes to your health, so be prepared. The last area of free things I want to talk about is any benefits your employer may offer. The company that I did the training for offers a $500 referral bonus. If you refer somebody to their company and that person works for 90 days, you get $500. I'm sure there are other employers who do that too. So talk to your HR rep and find out what bonuses or what opportunities you may be leaving on the table. Maybe it's education that you could get for free. Maybe there's some sort of benefits that the company offers for different businesses. Find out what you have available to you. And even if you are not working for a big employer, check out your credit union, any organizations you belong to. Like, leave nothing on the table when it comes to finding benefits. So that's all the free stuff. Now let's talk about your emergency fund strategy. And it all starts with your $1,000 emergency. Everybody needs a $1,000 emergency fund. 59% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency. That's some sad numbers. You need to have a $1,000 emergency fund. And I prefer that you have that in a high yield savings account that is separated from your bill pay accounts. This account should not have a debit card attached to it. It should not be easy to access, but it should be accessible. So the more separated from your bill pay accounts that it is, the better for you. And I can hear you. I can hear you saying it. I barely have enough money to get by. How do you expect me to build a $1,000 emergency fund? Well, you can do it the way I've always done it. Sell, save, and scrimp. When my daughter was getting married, we had very little time to come up with the money for her wedding. I didn't want to get into my savings. I didn't want to wear down my bank account. I didn't want to use credit cards, and I didn't want to use loans. So we saved, sold, and scrimped. We just did everything we could to come up with that money as quickly as possible. So think about the things that you have sitting in your garage or your home that are worth more than you have in your checking account. Think about that. Do you have things sitting around? Most people do. Sell what you don't need. We have so much stuff in our homes. Sell what you don't need and get that peace of mind for having that $1,000 emergency covered. Because I've heard about a lot of weird emergencies, but let me tell you about one that just happened to my daughter's in-laws. So they had bought this ranch in Texas, and they knew that there was a mosquito issue out there in the country. So they treated their yard the way all their neighbors did. Well, they come home one night and their house is infested with mosquitoes. They were getting 50, 60 bites. So they had to call in an exterminator, $250. But wait, there's more. So they come home from at the exterminator having been there, and their air conditioning's not working. So they call in the air conditioning repairman. He comes out $750. So we've just reached the $1,000 mark, right? But what he discovers is they need many parts to fix the air conditioning unit, another $1,900. That was a very expensive emergency. When I was talking to my daughter's mother-in-law about this, she said, I'm just so grateful that we have savings. So that savings made that situation an inconvenience, but it was not a catastrophe. So do whatever you have to do to build up a $1,000 emergency fund, as long as it's moral, legal, and ethical. And a way that you can get that started is right now, find something you can cut out of your life that will bring in $25 to $50 a week. Set up an automatic transfer into your high yield savings account of $25 to $50 a week. That will start building your $1,000 emergency fund, and you'll be amazed to see how much it inspires you as you watch it grow. Once you get that $1,000 emergency fund built up, it's time to get 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Again, looking back at 2020, who would have ever thought the world could shut down and people wouldn't be able to go to work? The people that suffered the most during that time were the people who had no savings. Having 3 to 6 months of living expenses put away in an account separated from your other money is a way to give you a peace of mind. If you lose your job, you're not going to lose your house. Like, it gives you time and freedom to figure out what you want to do with your life. Say you decide you want to make a career transition. Having that 3 to 6 months of living expenses put away gives you that freedom to make choices for your life. So you can build that up by saving, selling, and scrimping, but you can also monetize your professional skills. You paid a lot for your education and your experience, and you would be surprised how many other people would be willing to pay for that knowledge. Sometimes it's hard for people to think about how their job translates into something else. So I just picked a few that might help you to kind of see your job differently. But if you're in data analysis, maybe you could do some freelance analytics. If you write for your job, maybe you could do grant writing or technical writing. If you're in project management, you could do small business consulting. And if you're in engineering or science, you could do course creation or teaching. So think to yourself, what is one skill that you use every day at work that your neighbor would pay you to teach them? And if you don't know what your skills are, ask people. Ask people who know you best. I was asked today by a coaching client how I knew I was a coach. And I laughed because I had just talked about this in this training. And I told her, I said, I didn't know I was a coach until I knew I was a coach. I was a trainer and a speaker for a company. And the owner of that company came to me and asked me if I would coach the upper level executives at Philips. And I'm like, I'm not a coach. And this was back before coaching was a thing. This was back before like everybody could just go get a certificate from an unknown company online and now say they're a life coach. And I'm like, I'm not a coach. And he's like, have you ever listened to yourself? You coach people every day. That's when I started realizing the more questions he asked me, the more I was going, oh, I do. Well, I've always seen the best in people. I've always seen the potential of people. And I love to light that potential up and get people excited about doing something with their lives. And I realized I am a coach, but I didn't know I was a coach till I knew I was a coach. So ask other people what your skills are, what you're good at, what they would pay you to learn. And that will open your eyes to what you can do to monetize your skills. So let's look at some low effort income streams that you can use your skills for. There are platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, and Freelancer. I know a lot of YouTubers who use Fiverr. They'll have people do script writing or thumbnails or editing. I haven't done it myself, but I know a lot of people who do. And there are other opportunities too, like part-time remote work. When my mom and dad divorced, my mom had been a housewife. She had no experience, and she got a job for a home health care company. But in order to pay for like birthdays and Christmas and things like that, my mom did remote work from home. So she would answer the night phones from the company. And that way she had money to spend on gifts. And she did really well with that. And that was back before, all the technology is available that we have today. And there's also consulting and teaching. You might have a skill that is teachable at a community college or a local university. You could check into those things. I met several people on my trip to Delaware that teach at the University of Delaware, but they have jobs other places. So don't write off teaching because you already have a career. And then consider hobbies that you have. I have this amazing coaching client that I discovered through my YouTube channel. Hello, Diana. And she is just so inspiring to me. We got on our call today and she is suddenly making these beautiful crafts and she's building this crafting business. And I was just blown away by the product that she was creating already. And she is taking a hobby and turning it into a business. And I am just so proud of her and so blown away by her gumption to just jump into something new that she had no experience with. So think about hobbies that you enjoy, crafts you like doing. Think outside the box and don't limit yourself, because you don't know how that hobby might turn into a profit. Now, once you figure out what it is you want to do with your skills, you need to have systems. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, says this: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So when you are doing an extra job on top of your regular job, and you're working an extra 5 to 10 hours a week to build this side income so you can build up your 3 to 6 months of living expenses, you have to have good systems in place. That's the way you're going to get the most out of your small period of time. So figure out where your 5 to 10 hours are coming in the week. And then you need to build your reputation, because when you build your reputation, you raise your rates. It makes you more valuable. Once you've done that, you really have to get down to making sure you have good systems in place so that you can do your best work the most effectively. And then use your network. Look for referral opportunities. Ask the people that you know who they know that need your service. You have to use that to start your business out. It is mandatory that you use the people that you know to let them know what you're doing and ask them for referrals. So we've talked free money. We have talked the emergency funds. We have talked about ways you can create income to build those emergency funds. So now let's look at some immediate money wins that you could do this weekend to save some money. I bet you out there somewhere, somebody is paying for a streaming service that you have forgotten you have. When I was writing this training program, I was practicing with my husband, and I presented the question that I was presenting to the room. How many of you have streaming services you have probably forgotten about? And my husband's face went, I was like, what? And he goes, I just remembered I paid for this service to use with this music thing he uses. And he said, and I realized I'm not going to use it. I said, go now, go cancel that. So people forget, they just forget. So really look over your bills and see if there's streaming services that you have forgotten about and cancel them. And if you have 4 or 5 streaming services for watching TV, then I have to question, why do you need 4 or 5 streaming services, right? If you're going to be building a side hustle so that you can build up your 3 to 6 months of living expenses, you don't have time to be watching 4 or 5 streaming services. When I was trying to get the money together for my daughter's wedding, the first thing I did is I cut down to 2 streaming services. I kept Amazon because I shop Amazon and I got a lot of benefits from Amazon, and they also happen to have a streaming service. And I kept Netflix because there's no commercials and my husband hates commercials. So I kept those 2 and I cut everything else out. So figure out what's most important to your family, save the most important, and cut out what you don't need. You have better things to do with your life than just sit around watching other people live their lives. But you can negotiate your bills. I pick a bill every single month. I've done this for years, and I negotiate it. And I just call and say, nicely, I'm looking at my bills and I'm trying to adjust down. Could you help me look over my account and see how I can get a better deal? And I can tell you, most of the time, I end up getting a better deal. Now, Comcast Xfinity would not work with me, even though I had been a customer for 20 years. So I decided to leave them, and I went to a smaller company, and I saved $80 a month on my internet. So there's money to be saved out there. Pick one bill every week to call and negotiate. You will save anywhere from probably $30 to $100 a month. No kidding. Now, I say this next one with hesitancy because I don't believe in credit cards if you are racking up debt with credit cards. But if you are willing to pay off your debt every single month on your card, you can use your cards for cashback rewards. My daughter's mother-in-law paid for all of her Christmas last year using cashback rewards from her credit cards. I did that while we were building a house years ago. I put everything from the house building onto our credit cards, and then I would pay at the end of the month with the construction loan. And that just racked up points for us. And I paid for holidays for like 3 years with those points. So use your cards for good. If you are not paying off your cards every month, those rewards mean nothing. You are being ripped off with high interest rates. Do not use credit cards if you're not paying them off. And then look at any discounts you have available to you, like employee discounts or like through credit unions or any organizations that you belong to save money where you can. Now, you have your $1,000 emergency fund in place. You are contributing the full maximum amount to your 401k. You are contributing the full maximum amount to your HSA. You have paid off your debts. You have 3 to 6 months of living expenses, and now you have entered the promised land. You have entered the place where peace and prosperity reigns, because this is the place where you are not controlled by money. And this is where you can start looking at other investments like low-cost index funds, real estate, multiple income streams. I've had a dream of owning a laundromat. I don't know why. I just know it's a good income source, and I think it sounds like a fun thing to own. And this is also where you can look at continued education and ask your employer if they'll cover that, or at least cover part of it. So that way you can become even more valuable. So here's your action plan. This week, I want you to check your 401k contribution rate, research your HSA limits, and list 3 monetizable skills that you currently have. This month, I want you to automate your emergency fund contribution. Apply for 1 freelance opportunity and do a benefits audit either with your HR department, or if you're retired or self-employed, get with your financial advisor and make sure that you are contributing your max that you can contribute to your different accounts and that everything is looking good. This quarter, I want you to get $2,500 into your emergency fund. Create 1 consistent side income and maximize your employer match if you work for someone else and have a matching 401k. So here's some key takeaways from today. Start small, but start now. $25 a week will build momentum, and slow is better than no. Maximize your free money first. Take advantage of any free money you have available to you and maximize that first before you invest anywhere else. Remember that your skills have value. Your expertise equals income opportunities. Remember that emergency funds are insurance. They are not for vacation. Emergency funds are for emergencies. If you see that pair of shoes you've been dying to have and they're 50% off, that is not an emergency. I get you. I know. That would be an emergency for me too. But it's not what you use your emergency fund for. And then automate everything that you can, because it will remove decision fatigue. It is so nice to have everything automated that can be automated. All right, here's your homework. And yes, I'm giving you homework because that is how real change happens. First, grab my free financial resilience action plan for women over 50. It's the exact 90-day roadmap I just walked you through, but with a little more information. It has checklists for this week, this month, and this quarter. The download is right in the description below at the top. But here's what I really want you to do. Pick 1 thing from today's video, just 1, and take action on it in the next 24 hours. Maybe it's checking your 401k contribution rate, or listing 3 skills that you could monetize, or setting up that automatic $25 weekly transfer into your high yield savings account. Comment below which 1 thing you are committing to in this 24-hour period, and I'll personally respond to every comment, because accountability makes all the difference in the world. If this video showed you that it's not too late to build financial resilience, would you smash that like button and subscribe for more videos like this one? Your future self, the one who's financially confident and secure, is counting on the actions you take today. Remember, start small, but start now. You've got this. And if you'd like some ideas for some side hustles that you could easily start as a woman over the age of 50, you might want to check out this video right here. And until next time, carry on.